Hello and welcome to a new Google Sheets video in Practical Sheets. Today, we are going to learn how to do a translating system in Google Sheets using the Google Translate function. So we're going to do several steps. We're going to do one very simple one where we translate from English to Spanish or from Spanish to English. Then we're going to do a much more potent translator that translates from any language to English. So it detects automatically what is the language of origin and then translates it to English. And finally, we're going to do a flexible translator where we can choose the original language. For example, let's say Italian, and let's say il nino è rosso. I don't know anything about Italian, So let's say English. Here you can choose it, English, and it automatically will translate to something that doesn't make any sense, but we could say il filo, let's say. Okay, so it works perfectly as the translator from Google. The difference is that we could, in the future, do so much more. We could save our translations, we could send a PDF, we could send an email with the translation, so we could automate it bit further, and you will tell me how would you like to advance this project. But for now, it's just a very simple translator that you can have bookmarked, and you can easily translate whatever you want, such as Google, but with the added value that you have a record of what has been translated, while in Google, well, you just lose it. Okay, so I know you love it, but before we begin, I always invite you to subscribe to the channel, or furthermore, you can go to my webpage, Practical Sheets, where soon I'll launch courses of Google Sheets, Google Apps Sheet, and where most importantly, you'll find the templates of these and the more than 60-70 videos I have already in the channel. So you don't have to follow along if you want, you just can take it, copy it, and use it for your projects. Thank you so much, and let's begin. So in order to create this translator, we're going to base ourselves in a Google Sheets function called Google Translate. So we just need to familiarize a bit with it, and we can see that it can do a lot of great things. So it just says translate text from one language into another. Okay, so we need three things: the text, the source language, and the target language. That's it. So the source language and the target language is just a code that, if we go here, you can see that the basic is just two letters in lowercase, and that's it. So I can say, following the example, we can say hello, and then we can say that the source language will be English and that the target language will be Spanish. Okay, perfect. If we remove this, then it works, but it doesn't work as I want to. Okay, because with the other two arguments, I can be more specific on what I want and how. Okay, so first we're going to do a basic translator similar to what we have in Google. Here I have, let's go to Google Translate. So here is what I want, something that I send here hello, and then I say Spanish, for example, and it says hola. Okay, if you want, we can begin with English and Spanish. So let's say here original text and translated text. So I'm going to copy this, cut it actually, and paste it here. And we're going to put the hola here, and just instead of hello, I will just put a reference to the original text. Okay, so actually let's say hello, and if I say my name is Juan, it will automatically translate it to mi nombre es Juan. Okay, so this is what I want. This is, let's say, our first option, that is translator from English to Spanish. Okay, now I can make this a little bit prettier, so I can have bigger texts. Now let's just do some formatting here. Zoom out a bit so I have more options. I can do some adjustments here, and maybe we can align it at the top, and I could make it much bigger. Actually, I could delete all of this. Control Shift down, Control Alt minus, and here also I stand on the D, then Control Shift right and Control Alt minus to delete. So it looks much better. And then instead of relying on the zoom, because as you may know, the zoom doesn't, I would always have to do this zoom at the beginning because I could do this, but when I open it again, it will reset to 100. So I prefer to have it in a bigger text, in a bigger font. So we can say here 18, and actually this text could be not so big, maybe 12. And I could put this as a sort of a frame. And I could bring down here, and then I can have, let's say, hello, I have 2 cats and 2 dogs, and I live in Canada. Perfect. Okay, maybe we could do this, put some format so it looks a bit nicer. And I could wrap this up. I'm going to put this dotted line very smooth in a blue, in a green like this, only the vertical, and then this the outer range, I'm going to put it a bit tougher and a bit darker with this. Okay, so it doesn't look that bad. Also here. And finally, I'm going to say view. I'm going to remove the grid lines, and actually I'm going to insert 1 column to the left, which is a very small column. And I could put the color of these small cells in the same blue, dark blue, just to have like a frame. With Control, I click, and I think it's this one. Yeah, it's not the best, but it doesn't look that bad. And I'm going to change the text here. It looks nicer, the font. What is the problem with this? That I just have English to Spanish. So it would be nice to have it any language to any language, as the Google one. Okay, so this is Translator to English to Spanish specifically. Okay, now let's change it if you want. I'm going to do it. Let's do the Spanish to English. You can pause the video and do it because now you know how to. Here, say Spanish to English. So I'm going to change this. From the first one will be ES, that is Spanish, and the second one is EN, that is English. So here, knowing that this is English, it remains the same, but I can put original text. Hola, María está en la biblioteca. Hello, María is in the library. Perfect. Okay, so now we have Spanish to English. The next step I can do is to have it translate from any language to English. So let's duplicate this and let's call it Translator to English. So any language to English. And how do we do this? There is a function that is called detect language. So identifies the language using text. So I'm going to change this ES for the function detect language of this original text. Okay, so let's put something in French. I am a person. So it identifies the language, the original language, and translates it to English. So we've moved one step further, so it looks really nice. So now you have a lot of options. If you always need to translate from one language to the other, then any one of these could work and you just change this. If you need to change from any language to English or to Spanish or to whatever, then this one will work perfect. The last one we're going to do is very similar to this, that you can select both languages. So let's duplicate and we'll call this translator, let's say flexible translator. This means from any language to any language. Okay, so I'm going to add a couple of rows above. And here we can say original language and language for translation, or to translate to, or something like that. We can do this a bit smaller. Language. Okay. We can put this a bit smaller here, 12 maybe. And for now, let's put it in white. And the text, we're going to put it in this dark blue. Okay. Original language. Let's add actually another row to leave a bit of space. And here we're going, the question is, how are we going to choose the languages? So unfortunately, on the Google help, there's not a lot about the codes, but you look a bit in Google for Google codes or language codes, you'll find something like this. So you'll find some codes, or maybe even all the codes, or at least the most used. So I'm going to copy this table. I could do it with an HTML import, but just to have the updated languages. But for now, I'm just going to create a sheet called languages. We're going to paste it here, and we have the language name and the language code. So I'm going to show this. Actually, let's remove this format. We're going to show this because a person will not know that AIF is Afrikaans, you know, or that JA is Japanese. So they will know this. So I want to choose this, and maybe with a VLOOKUP, I can come and get the language code. So let's just do a simple drop down. So let's say data validation. And we're going to select from range from A2 up to A, so that if I update languages anytime, then I don't have to change my data validation. I will say reject input, and here I'll say choose a valid language. Let's hit save. Let's go to my flexible translator, and here it looks really nice. So there are two ways I can do this. I could here put the code, or directly in my function. So instead of detect language, I'm just going to say VLOOKUP. Let's look for this language in this language table in the second column. And as always, leave the 0 as the exact value. Sorry, I sometimes put semicolon because I'm used to Spanish, but it will work the same, and Sheets will detect it unlike Excel, and it will fix it automatically, so don't worry. Okay, here I haven't chosen a language, so if I put Irish, then actually I'm choosing, this is the origin language, so I should choose French. Okay, perfect. Now I should do the same for the output. So let's Control-C, Control-V, and here I'm going to do exactly the same. VLOOKUP, the exact same VLOOKUP, but not B2, but C2, because it's the other one. So here is French to French, but if I put French to Italian, then it works beautifully. Okay? So now let's do just a bit of formatting here. Maybe I could put the same dark blue. And also here. Maybe so that it doesn't look so big, I'm going to insert a column to the right and combine these two. I'm not a big fan of merge, but I think here it could work great. Just because I don't want this French to be so big, I'm just going to delete these data validations here, data validation, remove validation, and then I'm going to paste this format. I think it looks better. The same here. I'm going to insert a column to the right. Then I'm going to format this here, but still I need to get out the data validation. Remove validation. Now I can put this a bit smaller, and I'm going to merge these two. Perfect. And finally, maybe I can insert another column to the right, just like having a separator. It could look nice. Now this is much better, but I need to remove these borders, and I can put here a bit smaller and maybe This I could put it in a light blue. Okay, so that's it. Now I have done a translator very similar to this one, but the thing is, we could do in a second part, if you like, we could save the translations, for example. So you can say, well, what's the difference? The difference is that it will remain here. While Google, you delete it and it's deleted. Here you can remain, then you may copy and paste it, and you can have a database of your translation, so you can go back maybe immediately with a button, or just when you translate, it'll immediately paste it to a database. Then you can have statistics of what you translate, what is the original language, the language for translation. Maybe you have a database for further consultation. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but I think these are some of the possibilities that a system like this could give us. Another thing is that we could also translate with Google Apps Script. We don't need to do it with a formula. So this is another improvement we could make in the future, that automatically, in certain cases, it can translate, automatically create a new text. For example, it could create, with just a button, it could create a Google Docs and then create a PDF for the translation, for example. So just some of the ideas that how we could improve this in the future. So this has a lot of potential. So just let me know how can we improve this, and for the second part. But don't forget, if this is the first video you see from me, to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like what you see, or even further, you can support me in the Patreon page, or I'm about to premiere my webpage, Practical Sheets, where you can find all the templates. Maybe you need this and you don't want to do it from scratch, then you just copy and paste copy the file, and you have it for anything you need. And you'll have soon courses on all of the topics we talk here: Google Sheets, Google Forms, Google Apps Script, web apps, whatever you want. Thank you so much, and see you next time.